We've got some great news.
Great new rates on new
and used car loans.
New car loans as low as 1.99%. Used car loans as low as 2.49%.
I save money.
And that's not all. We refinance trucks and RVs.
Refinance your car and save.
Refinance at Columbia Green Federal Credit Union.
And save on your payments.
You will save.
Save now.
And save money. The Coxsackie and Hudson Lending Centers.
All right, welcome to Hudson Valley 360, the Press Box, presented by Columbia Green Federal Credit Union. This week we have a bit of a legendary Catskill basketball coach, Doug Lampman.
He loves that.
I don't know about that.
He's been there for quite a while now over at Catskill.
Yeah, we have been. I've been there for a while. Mm-hmm. I think I started back in 97, 98 was my first team over there. We were a modified team, and then we did JV for a while, and then went to varsity. Eventually, yeah, it has been a while. You start looking back and talking about the old stories, you start to say, "Wow, this has been a long time."
Well, anybody that knows anything about local high school basketball around here knows that Catskill has a tradition of producing players and teams unlike any other team, and you're a big part of that.
Yeah, well, I'm fortunate to have grown up in the area. As a Carroll Durham alumni, when I was a little boy, my dad and Coach Franco were good friends.
Jimmy Franco.
So when I was a little guy who loved basketball. My dad would drag me to the games, and those teams you were just talking about. That's those were all over my wall in the newspapers. The Daryl Jordans and the Mark and Eric Swains, and then Andy Jones, my assistant coach. And so, though I wasn't a Catskill alumni, I certainly can respect the tradition that was there because I kind of grew up in it.
With that in mind, is there a certain Catskill team from a certain era that you feel maybe rises above? Not counting your teams, because I don't want to get into that. But not.
Well, I can tell you the one that's affected me the most.
Sure.
Because I was at a time where I'm a little kid who was excited and looking up to these kids that, and my dad would take me to all the games. It was the Eric Swain, Mark Swain, Daryl Jordan. Those guys were
early to mid '80s.
Yeah, the early '80s, and we got to go. My dad would take me to the scrimmage games, and Coach Franco would rub my head and all that type of stuff. So those names were etched into me as legendary. But my assistant coach, Andy, he had an amazing record there. I remember watching him when he was playing. My last high school basketball game as a player was against Catskill. So that team was also very good. That was your Chris Quinn.
I think it was 84.
Kyle Lyles. I was 86. Okay. So Chris was a senior. Kyle was a senior. Gurvis was there. Yeah. So I remember those guys because they put a pretty good hurting on us in that semifinal. Yeah, they did. They had a good season that season. So
81-82.
It's kind of neat to stand there and now be a part of that program after watching it form your opinions of basketball as you grew up. So it's certainly an honor.
Well, with Coach Franco rubbing your head, as you said, when you were a little kid, apparently some of his magic rubbed off on you because you had a very nice run yourself. I mean, so far, 5 straight championships. I believe it was 2010 through the 2014-15 season. 5 straight Patroon championships.
It's not me, and I say this to anybody that'll listen. So I'll say no. And I mean this. I mean this wholeheartedly. Sure. We've created a phenomenon in Catskill where there's a tremendous amount of community involvement, and you have to recognize that when you're successful with a team type of thing, especially at the high school level, because you don't get to recruit, we have to create our own talent, and there are some very, very talented coaches, volunteer coaches that I may not even know their name. The tradition helps a lot because kids do like to play in Catskill, and they're involved in it because their dad did or so forth. So you have the tradition, and all I do is put the right pieces in place. Me and Andy have spent a lot of time working with our feeder programs. We've had a lot of volunteer coaches. I had Andy Gonzalez do my summer league over there. He didn't miss a beat. He was a former alumni of mine. I've got Coach Hernandez, who's by all facts, he's a varsity coach helping me at my JV level. He's a very knowledgeable man. Kyle, who's done our Lyles, has done our modified for a while. Now we have Henry Hay working with the modified. So it really is a community effort. If it wasn't a community effort, I'd tell you. But the reality is, I'm just one piece of the puzzle, and I'm fortunate enough to work with these young men as they get into high school and try to make the right decisions with them. But it's a community team, and I have a lot of difficulty accepting very much praise for it because it really is all of us. Let's be honest.
It's definitely a team effort, as you say.
Sure is.
Let's talk about this year's team.
Okay.
I mean, I know you've had a couple scrimmages. We talked about that before we went on. Had 3 scrimmages so far. How do you look so far in those scrimmages, would you say?
We looked like we were in our first couple scrimmage games.
Sure.
You know, you never really see what your team's going to be early in the season.
Right.
The scrimmage games are a good way to get the cobwebs out, similar to the tournament we have coming up. We have a lot of senior leadership. You know, this team is going through a lot of different phases. We had the Justin Lacey phase where he left the program to go on to bigger and better things, and a lot of the players were juniors at that time, and they had to reinvent themselves and their roles. So it's taken some time for them to do it. We lost a game, a heartbreaker to McKeel Christian up at Shenandoah last year. And I went in the locker room. We were all hurting big time, especially how the performance turned out. And we made a vow to each other that this is not going to happen again, and what do we need to do that? And we've been very, very busy in the off season to try to, we called it Catskill Rising. That was kind of our quote to try to motivate, put everybody on the same page. I can tell you this wholeheartedly, they did almost exactly what I wanted them to do. So as we hit the season, we've done the skill development, the skill acquisition. Now it's putting it all together, and I hope we can compete night in and night out. That's my goal.
Got a feeling they will.
I think so.
They will. You have 9 returnees.
Yeah.
One of which, Justice Brantley, who's going to be a junior this year, I feel is one of the best players, not only in the platoon but Section 2.
Yes.
Just a tremendous all-around player. You have Justin Worth coming back. You have Will Bartholomew returning from
knee
injury. And a very unsung player, I feel, is Youssef Bushkir. He's a kid that I think a lot of people are going to become more aware of this year.
Yes.
He's going to open a lot of eyes.
Yusuf has put in a ton of work. All of them have. Justice went off in the spring and worked with some of the more elite programs up north.
Right, exactly.
And has honed his game and has turned a lot of heads up in the Capital Region, which is nice for him. Then we talked about Justin Worth, who's been working every day since I've got him. Will coming back from his knee injury is going to be a big piece. And Youssef, you're right. I mean, those are the type of kids that show up every day, bust their tail, and they make the big play at the end. And they don't look for attention. They they do it because they know that's what the team needs them to do. Why don't you keep an eye on a guy named Trey Ivory? He's another one that's coming up. Trey played soccer.
Senior this year, right?
Yes, he didn't do a lot during the off season, but he shows a lot of leadership in practice and on the field. But you're right. We have a lot of returners, returnees, I guess you say, and they should help us to get over all those early season jitters and put the game plan in. And I hope we'll have the leadership throughout the season from all those guys you mentioned, as well as some of the guys you didn't.
A lot of these kids that you have coming back played on the Summer League team, which won the Columbia Green Summer League Championship. So the season has started off a little early on a great note. So hopefully that'll carry through for you guys. But a lot of teams are looking at Catskill as the team to beat. On paper, hard to argue with that. I mean, a lot of talent coming back. I know
can tell you,
hate to talk about it.
I hate talking about that stuff. I consider it a win when we walk off the court and we have more points than them, and it's been our mentality. I've tried. It's hard, especially with today's social media. These guys think that they're something that they're really not. Me and Andy and I just tried to set up a practice plan every day that pushes them to their limits, regardless of what that limit might be. Right. And we try to be as consistent, and we try to turn down the noise and turn up what it is that we have to execute. And when you never know. Injuries are a big part of the sport. Eligibility is a big part of the sport. You never know what's going to happen with teenage kids. So from my standpoint, we're just going to get the best that we can every day and move forward. And the Patroon Conference is a very, very competitive conference. People say it isn't, but Greenville will come to play this year. They beat us twice last year. They're not going to back away, and they've got a lot of talent over there. They always do. Hudson's loaded again, and they did lose Oliveros, but they're going to be ready to play. Briscoe will put a team on there. Maple Hill is always strong. Rensselaer is always strong, and there's a bunch I didn't even mention. So it's a tough conference to play in, which should hopefully prepare us throughout the season to continue to work hard, and that's what I like to do.
How about the kids? Do they feel themselves that, hey, we are the team to beat? We have all this talent coming back. Do you feel that
if they do feel that way, they will never share it with me. They know that we don't think like that. We think to go out, execute, go hard, do what we do, which is, there's certain things that we do, and we do them as best that we can, and the rest will take care of it. In the few terms where they've shared stuff like that, thoughts and dreams, I redirect them back to the work that needs to be done at hand. And Andy's the same way, and hopefully collectively we can continue to hit that mantra and be the best that we can be when we need to be.
Should this team rise up and play as well as it can. In other words, it reaches its full potential. How good can this team be?
You're going to keep hammering it till you pull it out, aren't you?
Do it.
Obviously, you're looking at a lot of talent. There's some talent. There's talent there. They have done the work, and they've created themselves into becoming a very, very talented group of young men. I'm not going to say it though, Tim, but they're a very talented group of young men, and me and Andy's job is to push them daily and try to get them to be better than they are when they leave the gym, when they came in. And if they continue to buy in, I think we should represent the community very well. I think Catskill will be fun to watch. With that said, one never knows.
Now, speaking of representing the community, over the off season, you guys put together a nice little drive. You set up some food drives and everything for the hurricane victims.
One of the things that we've tried to do, Andy and I have always, with Andy being a community police officer and obviously me as a teacher, the importance of the community. And, they come out and they support you. So we try to teach them that they're a little bit bigger than the basketball on the court. And it's an opportunity. I look at my program as an educational program. We're being paid by the taxpayers, and we're a basketball team. We're not a money-making NCAA team. So with that said, I want them to be good young men when they leave here. And one of them is to have a little bit of civic duty. So we will. We've done food banks. We've done recently the disaster relief raising. We'll do other things as time permits. But I think it's important that they realize they're standing in the community, understand the value of helping out their community. And as I said very early on, Tim, when I shared with you, it's a community team. This team was built by the community. Let's be honest with one another. They've done the volunteer work. They've brought them to the practices and all that stuff. So from that standpoint, we want to give back a little bit.
No question about it. If you got your 3 scrimmages out of the way, you open up Friday with the Catskill tip-off tournament. Talk to us about that.
Well, that came from when this group was very young. We went over to our first league game.
Right.
And I think I started 3 sophomores that night. And it was 3 years ago. It was Youssef and Justin. And I had 3 sophomores on the floor. And we lost to a team that I thought was not that good of a team. But we lost because they were scared. They were nervous. It was their first night wearing the varsity jersey, and they did not perform the way I would have liked them to perform. So with that said, I wanted to do something about it and have a tip-off tournament where you can kind of work through all your kinks and get through, especially your young players, get them ready. As this year we have Devon Hay. He's a 10th grader. This tip-off tournament is going to be his first varsity experience. And then when league play comes, hopefully would have gotten all those jitters out. And on top of that, I want to have a place for the CYO kids to come and watch basketball over the Thanksgiving break. So we've teamed up with the community center, the Catskill Community Center, along with CYO and some other youth programs. And we put on this Catskill Classic. This year it features John Coleman down below.
From Kingston.
From Kingston. Ontiora, which is a team that I used to be in their tournament. They're out of the MHAL. And then we have Ravina coming down the road from the
And they won
the
it last
Colonial.
year, right?
They won it last year. So I'm hoping it's the second annual of many more. I enjoy putting the tournament on. I know it's going to be a high quality tournament. We're trying to reach out to some other teams. We're trying to get. We did. A lot of teams called me after we already closed the books from some schools down by the city as well as out by Syracuse. So hopefully the future is bright for that. We enjoy it. It gets the kinks out. It's a nice daytime thing. You can get out there. It's neat because in the stands you see a lot of grandmas and grandpas that can't make it to that 8:30, it's 9 o'clock game, but they're right there in an afternoon game. So it's a nice matinee type basketball. Come watch us play. I think it'll be 4 good programs.
That's right.
Might be a little sloppy. It's the first game, a little nervous jitters,
right?
but that's why we're doing it. That's exactly right.
Now the JVs start at 10. And it's staggered a little bit. JV's at 10, a varsity game at 11, another JV.
Yes. What we did Friday, we have the 2 teams going back to back so that they can take the bus over and bus back.
Okay.
Obviously, whatever happens Friday will dictate who's in the championship and the semifinals the next night. But so we're 10 o'clock, 11:30, 1 o'clock, 2:30. Those are the times. We'll be having it on our website if you want to look. But I'm looking forward to it. Should be a fun weekend after we eat all our turkey.
There you go. Going to be a good time for sure.
Yes,
definitely. All right, Coach. I appreciate you stopping by, and we wish you lots of luck this season.
I was honored to have the interview, and I hope you come out and watch us and cover us. And I think it'll be a good season.
It's going to be a fun season.
Yeah, same here.
All right. See you next week on the Press Box, presented by Columbia Green Federal Credit Union.